God bless Texas, everybody, from the wonderful state of Texas. Here we are again. Hard Shop Life.
Jeez.
My God, I'm wearing my boots and my hat today.
Oh, man.
Let's
God
take it
dang.
real.
I'm sorry, Texas.
Hey, I'm your man here, Coach Jay, in the beautiful state of Texas. And I'm with my partner here,
G-Man.
the G-Man. You know, G, I think I'm going to get you some boots, man. They have the little thing, and I'm going to, call them the G-Man. It's funny,
I
too.
literally just got rid of my boots not that long ago.
I believe that.
I think my last move.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah. I had a pair for a long time. I don't wear them very much. They're uncomfortable as hell.
You can't say that in Texas. Man.
I don't know how these dudes wear them, man.
You can't say that in
In
Texas.
Missouri, guys used to wear them to work, walk around the shop, and I'm like, dude, I worked with this guy. He was a technician. He was a cowboy.
Yeah.
And this was in California, but he was a real deal. And he wore boots working on cars every day. He had boots on. I was like, I don't know how he did that, man.
I don't see myself buying myself a pair of boots. Now, I'll take them as a gift.
Yeah.
You know, hint, hint, Daryl Lynch. I mean, you can do that. You know, size 12. But he'd be the guy too to do it. He would be the guy
Oh yeah, seeing
like
some boots.
Coach J.
Oh, there's another guy I didn't even think about relevant because I'm so used to seeing him in boots. That's Daryl.
Oh,
With boots every day.
always,
Every day.
every
Yeah.
day. He looks good in them though.
No, he looks good.
Yeah,
There's
that's
nothing
what I'm
wrong with the
saying.
look. I'm just saying. I just think they're uncomfortable.
But I just think people can't pull it off. You know, just people have different looks. You can't pull it off. Daryl I mean, he's really good at it. All right, G-Man, here we are.
All right.
We're talking, we're grooving, we're moving. Before we get started, I want to let you know something that I did that I've never done before. So I'm a huge vinyl record collector. Huge. I bought my first country album. Bought my first country album, man.
Is it real country or is it like Garth Brooks or something?
Wow. It was Garth Brooks.
Get out of
It
here.
was Garth Brooks. I swear to God it was. I swear to God.
Oh man.
Yeah. Friends in Low Places, I kind of
Oh,
cried.
yeah, no, friends in low places.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah.
God.
Yeah, and the
Jeez.
thunder rolls. Yeah, man, that stuff was
God.
good.
Every freaking house party I went to in high school, man.
No way.
Oh, friends in low places. And,
No way.
Oh yeah, guy. Everybody.
California?
Oh yeah, everybody be singing and
In
yelling.
Clayton?
Oh yeah. Well, it'd be all hip hop, and then somebody would throw. No, it was in Concord, Walnut Creek. You know,
What, bro? Come on.
somebody would throw down
I mean,
Garth Brooks, and then
yeah.
the whole place would go wild.
Did you know that my very first concert was Garth Brooks? Like, as a kid, as a teenager, I went to go see Garth Brooks. I think I was like 14 or 15 or something.
I've never seen him.
He's good performer.
I hear him and Hank Williams Jr. put on a really good show.
Oh wow.
I like Hank Jr. too. His stuff's
Do you?
good. His stuff was big too when I was in school. They used to come out a lot of parties. His thing. What was his song? It'll come to me. I'll think about it towards the end of the show. I'll blurt it out.
Well, let's see. We're going to talk about some good stuff today, G-Man. All right. What do we got on the docket?
Today we're going to talk about potential. So we've been, we're looking for new clients. We've got an opening right now, so we're trying to find our next project and
I think we can do
people
two.
that we can help.
I want to do
might be able
two.
to do two.
Leads, guys, I want to invite everybody. We have worked extensively on our website. I know, we're still building it, working it, fine-tuning it, but jdicoaching.com is live. It's been live now for a little bit. For years. I mean, it's so embarrassing. For years, we just had a backlog of things that we needed to do for the business. And now we've kind of sort of gone through that realm of, okay, we took time for ourselves. We built our assets. We get this thing going. And now we're ready to rock and roll. We need to knock on some doors, or somebody's got to knock on ours. And we're ready to rock and roll, make magic happen. So
yeah, check out our website. There's a lot of stuff on there. We're adding more every day. Lots of free content, lots of good stuff that you need. We're putting in a lot of free resources. Right now on the front page, when you first get in, if you want, you can download our profit per hour formula and profit per parts piece, which are both things that we used at the retreat last year that were a huge hit.
Bro, they were just game changers.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the one thing that the parts managers. I mean, what do we have? 3 parts managers in the room? I mean, there was like 34. Okay, so there was a bunch of people in there, but 4 parts managers actually attended, which is funny because after the fact, there was a lot of parts managers of the stores that did attend that said, "Man, I should have gone. I didn't know you guys had good content." And I'm like, Thank you. Like, what a huge compliment that you'd want to come, because parts managers never need training. I got this under control. I've been doing this for 47 years.
Well, two plus two never changes, right? It's like, those formulas are kind of tested, and you just feel like they don't change. But I think you start talking to parts managers that get excited about the business, especially some of the younger guys, and they got a lot of good new philosophies, new ways of looking at things, and there's a lot of progress that's been made. And so, so it was fun to sit down and take that and break it down and get down to where what your profit per piece is. And it gives you a lot of doing that exercise, gives you a lot of answers along the way, which helps reveal a lot of things that you can work on to help improve the margins in your department. And, if you're going for the big warranty increase, then you want to start working on your customer pay first, and you got to get those things sorted out, because otherwise you won't get there, right? We just did one for a client, and we just did a labor rate. We just both, actually. We did parts and labor increase for them. And, I mean, that's, kind of what made us think about this potential thing, right? Because, honestly, he's not able to get a warranty rate that's at his door rate, and that's really due to the fact they're not holding ELR, right? And they're not really achieving their potential.
I heard some news, G-Man, and I got for our newer, I don't know, for our audiences. I heard a stat the other day from an actual reliable source that knows, that has a big software company, or part of a big software company that has thousands of clients, and they go and they check on certain, they check on the aptitude of certain, and of managers and whatnot. They guessed around 80% of people don't know what ELR is. And so, we're a training and educational business, right? And the reason why we're in this space is because we thrive off of trying to empower people with education. So, I know we've talked about ELR, but I wonder if there's been people who have listened to us and go, I don't know what they're talking about, and tune us out, right? And so I just, real quick, before we go into this whole potential thing, you brought up ELR. I want to clearly define ELR is what we consider your effective labor rate. After you put everything into consideration, right, and how do you calculate that? You take all your dollars, labor dollars, and you divide it by your hours, right? It's kind of simple, right? And then you take, hold on, but G-Man, how about detail? How do you calculate detail? How do you calculate detail? I mean, how do you take it into consideration? Because you got the, I'm getting, my ELR is getting eaten alive because.
If you do it right, you're either got a separate opcode or a labor type you can remove.
Yeah,
you can
do
measure
that.
detail separately. But here's the danger. Okay, detail's one thing. Then guys start saying, well, oil changes don't count.
Right.
And
Don't
well,
do that.
maintenance don't count. And then you start, okay, so I'm willing to let detail kind of fall off.
But not the rest of it.
Detail's a separate business. But when you're bringing in oil changes, you need to convert. And if you're separating that measurement, then you're hurting yourself, because you're not measuring your conversion ratio.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think it is interesting. I mean, and this is gonna happen because our business is cyclical, where the old guard's gonna the guard's gonna change, right? A lot of the guys that have been in this game a long time are gonna move on. They're gonna retire. They're gonna go do something else. Maybe they're becoming GMs. We know a lot of guys that got promoted and now they're general managers. And so that service manager spot is now open. And now you're going to put somebody in that role that doesn't have that experience, that doesn't have that training, that has heard ELR mentioned and maybe has a good idea of what it is, but doesn't really truly understand the math behind it and why it's important. And I think the profit per hour formula really breaks that down to the 1 hour, right? So now you really kind of get an understanding of your expense profile, your cost of sale and everything, all broken down to the hour value. And it really gives you a clear picture of why it's important to hold ELR, what ELR is all about. But the other important thing I want to say is the way you put it, I always love the way you say it, what you say about ELR. And now granted, it doesn't change the formula. It doesn't change what it is. It doesn't change the math, right? But what it does change is it changes how you think about it and how you look at it. So if you look at it this way, and I'm going to go back to what you're saying, is you say that your labor rate that you post on your door, right? Theoretically post on your door is what you say you're going to charge to the market. This is what I'm going to charge to the market. This is what I'm worth, right, to the marketplace. And your effective labor rate is what you're actually charging them and what you're actually saying you're worth. And the disparity between those two things, especially when there's a huge disparity, what you're really doing is you're saying I am not worth what I'm trying to tell everybody I'm worth. And so think about the duplicity of that too mentally. Like it's got to mess with you because I'm saying I'm worth $175 an hour, but I'm only charging $125. Right. Like because I don't think I'm worth it. I can't. Well, Coach Jay, I can't get to 100. How am I supposed to do that? Well, if you're worth $175, let's go. You know what I mean? Like either you are or you aren't. And I get it. People are turning the knob and punching stop and like deleting the Hard Shop Life off their phone right now because they're like, you guys just don't understand, and you got to have oil changes and you got to discount and you got to do that, and hey, there's places to do that with coupons and all that stuff. But the truth be the truth, if you're discounting and you got coupons, and I'll tell you right now, if it was my store, I'd say the same thing to myself. I'm telling the marketplace I'm not worth it. I'm telling them that no matter what I say on the door, doesn't matter. What I do is what matters, right?
Right.
And I think that's an important thing. I think it's important. I think the more you try to like look at it that way, the more you really say, you start to build value in you, your team, your people, your processes, your dealership, the work that you do, because you want to justify that price point instead of sliding down and then hitting a dollar amount. And you're like, yeah, we look like that. That's us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
It's a dangerous way to do it.
Well, I think we just gotten accustomed to it, which is it's distasteful to me. It's what it is. It bothers me a lot because what ends up happening is you become a liar, but you don't like being called a liar, but you are. But you justify it because you're like, well, we're 180, but we're really 120.
Yeah.
So you're only going to work at the scope of 120 because that's what you're worth. Right? And what happens to the market quite often is a customer literally, that is by definition psychologically such a jarring thing to the head, because if I'm the consumer and I think that your prices are too expensive at 180 and you act this way because you act what you are. You act at 120. You're going to act at 120. Right? It's what we train advisors time and time again, where it's that whole body language shift. When a customer drives in, let's say it's an open drive, and we had open and closed drive, but let's say it's an open drive, car comes in, whatever, and customer says, yeah, I'm here for the recall. The body language of the advisor just it's like, oh, okay, welcome, how you doing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Or, I'm here for my timing belt. Hey, how are you? What's going on? Yeah, right? Right?
Can I get you a side of water pumps with that?
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And so what happens is it's the mental aptitude of the person, right? And that's the thing that we strive on in our training. Like people don't understand that our training sessions are 100% psychology. Oh yeah. It is well, I have and I got to be better. We got to be better at this with testimonials, and I need to be working on it because every single advisor that's been through our thing says, "Wow, your stuff is completely different than anybody's ever taught us." Right? We sat in your thing, we sat in your session, and we see your agenda, and you're like, walk around, and I'm like, oh my God, hit the snooze button. Like this is walk around again, really, bro? Like what are you talking about? Oh, we want to sell more tires. Yeah, we know what to do with that, right? Sure. Like, why do I have to worry about tires if my place already buys the Hunter automatic tire measuring when people drive on in? Anyway, I don't know if I'm going sideways on the potential conversation.
But it goes right into the potential conversation because that's the truth. The truth is, what is your potential, right? It's like what – so – the reason this came up is we were talking to a dealer about getting his gross up. He had a number. He was like, clear number. This is where I want to get to. I want to get to this number, and this is where I'm going, and this and that. But the part that he didn't know and he didn't understand is that the number? Like, that was his number, and most likely it's based on some sort of like record or some sort of pay plan driven thing. Something's driving his thought process to that number. But what does that number represent? A lot of people do that. So, a good case in point, we've been talking a lot about BMW San Francisco and the project we did out there, right? And when we went out there, one of the things that they had told us was that when the store was purchased, the new owners said, we have a goal of $1 million in labor gross, and told the management, you guys have a year to get there. Give you 1 year, but this is where we want to be, right? $1 million in labor gross. And so we get there. It's been a year. They didn't achieve it, right? And they're going through this whole upheaval because of that. Part of the reason why we're there is we're there because they couldn't get there, and they were looking for somebody to help them. They called us in. So we get there, and we look at it, and we're like, well, yeah, $1 million is good. Now, man, right now they're doing like 657.
It was 680, 687, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So they're in this high sixes, low sevens, right? And so another 300,000, 400,000, yeah, that's fantastic. Who doesn't want that?
That's a 50% increase.
Yeah, and for us, we could go in there and we could do that. We saw it. We did the math. We looked at it. It was definitely achievable. And for them, it'd be a stretch goal. They've never done it before. And so, okay, so all those things line up. Okay, right. But the truth is, when we did the math, their potential was closer to 1.5. Actually, their potential was really closer to 2. But we were saying, like, in the amount of time that we had, with the current staff that we had, like the things that we could pull off, 1.5 was really where they were at. It's where they should have been. And is another $500,000 ahead. And that's their potential. And you have to be able to map that out and see that and be able to look at that, because you need to understand, is it that, or is it something else? Because, again, $1 million would have been good, but meanwhile, had we shot for $1 million, we would have lost $500,000, And over the course of the time that we were there, you're talking about, another 700, 800,000. No, I'm sorry, another 7 million in gross. It's like over the time that we were there. So that's a lot of money. And just because you didn't truly understand what the potential is, you just said, that looks like a good number, and we're going to go get that, right? Because that's what we think we can achieve. Here's the problem I think we find a lot of times when we go in, because when we threw down that number, the only person that thought that was a good idea was the GM, right, who had just started there. Mm-hmm. He was like, I like that number, let's do that. But everybody else was like, oh, you'll never get there, you'll never get there. And even the advisors, nobody believed in the potential of that store, right? Their effective labor rate was what, $100 below the door rate? More than $100?
More than $100.
More than $100 an hour.
So they were telling everybody that it was $320, $495 per hour, and they were collecting 189, 100. Yeah, it was 180 something. Yeah.
Again, it's like that. It goes right back to the thing we were just talking about in the beginning. Is okay, you got this number. This is what you're telling the marketplace that you're worth, but you don't really believe it, and none of your people believe it because you don't believe it, because you're willing to cut corners and cut prices and throw coupons out, and you don't want to hold price, and so you're not really worth that. You're not really doing that level of work. So then your whole team just looks around and goes, we're not worth that, we can't deliver that. And then they kind of dumb it down. They're not really trying that hard, not trying to be the best. That's a flagship location. We're talking about, there are 2 like major BMW stores, maybe arguably 3. One's definitely Manhattan as a flagship store. You could argue that Bremen down in Miami, and then San Francisco. These are flagship locations. These are big, very wealthy markets. These stores need to represent the pinnacle across the country. And San Francisco, above all, has become the most expensive place to live in the country, with the .coms and the Google and Apple and everybody being there. The value of that store is tremendous. They should be They should be outdoing everybody. Yeah. And they weren't. And so their potential was being held back by those beliefs, right? So they framed that belief system by those actions that they took. they got into that headspace. They got all their people into that headspace, and then that was the result. They couldn't get out of it. They couldn't pay their way out of it, honestly. You know what I mean? They couldn't give people, they couldn't bring in enough cars. They had cars, man, remember that? We were cars stacked up to the ceiling there. They had it was crazy how many cars they had in that place. And everything was frozen. It was just nothing would move. And it was kind of crazy. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, and we've been talking about that. We did a big campaign here in Texas because now we're here, and we're doing some live advisor training here on the 19th and 20th. So we sent out a mailer to a lot of dealers in the marketplace just to kind of get our name out there, get people to know who JDI is. We're local, looking to see if we can get a local client. It'd be great to have somebody here in the state that we live in. We have our business set up, shop local, buy local, And one of the things we talked about is, what is your potential? Are you achieving maybe you feel like you're doing good. Maybe you feel like you're doing great. But truly, what are you doing? And are you capable of measuring it, right?
Yeah.
Because that was the other thing I was thinking, like, how are you capable of measuring it? Because how do you know if you're the one that's in it?
Yeah, exactly. You don't know they always say you don't know the label of the jar you're in.
Right. So
right now, I mean, that's so this is hard, G-Man, because in my experience, or in our experience, really, I'm going to talk about personally, people don't like to know if they're good or bad, especially in an environment with peers, maybe. Like, it's hard, right? It's hard to get, like, people in a room and say, yeah, I'm good, or I'm not that good, or I want to be. And although everybody says they want to do better, it's like me for years on this podcast saying, I need to lose 20 pounds, right? But if you don't do something about it, you're not going to lose a pound.
Yeah.
Right? Like me. Like, I have dramatically now, part of me, truth be told, I call it the depression diet, but it's not, I'm not depressed. It's just all my changes in my life, right, that have happened have completely altered the way that I do things. So I've lost a lot of weight. I mean, I've lost 30 pounds. But I had to do something about it, or an event forced me to do something about it, right? Which sometimes happens with stores. Sometimes it happens with people is they're not aware until the awareness punches them in the face. And I cannot stress enough. I don't understand how dealers are not completely ratifying themselves to understand that their future value of selling cars is service.
Yeah.
Like, I know people that literally say, I go to the dealer for my oil changes and services that it needs, but I buy all my cars at CarMax. Yeah. All of them. And so and now you see it, bro. Go to CarMax.com. Look at they are dousing you with their service, who they've partnered up. We're with Napa Parts. We got this. We're getting with GM this. Da 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 da. Like, they know. They're already ahead of it. Yeah. They know, and they've pivoted already, saying, we sell cars. Do you know we can take care of it too?
Yeah, they're starting to move into that arena now, right?
Yeah, and everybody's
they know to sell the next car.
Exactly.
That's what they need. Yeah.
So then now you talk to them, and they're like, and they'll say, well, we've always been in the service game. We've just used $0 to promote it. Yeah. Now we're going to take it all. We're going to take over. Right. We're going to do that.
Right. And I think so. That goes right into, like, my next point I was going to make is that, okay, so first of all, you're not a good judge of what your potential is, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second thing is there's a lot of people out there who say, well, I don't want to be overly salesy to my customers, and I don't want to offer them too much, and I don't want to do this, and and they kind of get, like, they take the what do you call that, the moral frame, mm-hmm. And so it's like, I'm doing the right thing. And the truth of the matter is every environment that we've been in, and every environment we've been in, when you start selling to those customers and you start making more money, And BMW San Francisco is a good example of it. Those customer satisfaction scores actually go up, and customers actually want to come to you. And
Brother.
so, why? Because you're taking care of them.
Exactly. I mean, perfect example is Seattle Mini.
Yeah.
They had a 41 NPS score. 41. 41. Okay? It's a 41. That's horrendous. And I'm sorry that I'm calling you out, but that was old school. We come in there, JDI comes in there, we partnered up, we did the whole thing. We go to town, right? Did they make more money? Substantially more money. They charged what the market value was. We did everything, but we completely changed the experience. Yeah. And last month they're at a 93. To the point where, like, even Mini is going, how did you do that? Yeah. How are customers putting in great comments?
And sales are up.
How are you doing that? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I remember I went to a meeting one time when I was working for BMW, and they one of the service managers at the meeting was a manager's meeting with the corporate guys, and he tried to convince me that if you give your customers a discount, they'll appreciate it, and then they'll come back. Like, if you don't sell to them, right, and you don't charge them a lot, they'll walk out feeling good, and then they'll come back to you because they feel good. And I'm thinking to myself, listen, it's not how much they spend. Now, I'm not advocating you go out and just like rip customers' face off and
never.
But they need to get what they need.
Yeah.
And they're there to get their car serviced. And when they leave there and that's not done, it's like you're not taking care of them. You're not spending time with them. You're not going over what their needs are. You may get them in and out quickly, but Burger King can get you in and out quickly. Nobody's sitting here telling me what a great hamburger they make. You see what I mean? It's like it's a different experience. And so it's like you want to slow things down. You want to take really good care of people, and you want to offer them the things that they need, because then they know that's what they can expect from you, and they feel that gives them a sense of comfort. You know, so Tom was telling me he just took his Volvo over to the dealership over there, and he says they love that advisor and they won't go anywhere else. And he goes, and I buy whatever the guy says because I want to maintain the car and keep it nice, and I trust him, you know, and we have a really good relationship with him. And he goes, look, we're going to buy another Volvo. You know, they got a Volvo loaner, a newer car, an XC60 or something like that they really like. And he was thinking about, like, you know, maybe that's the next car. It's smaller than the one they have now, but they really like it. And he says, for sure, if we're going to buy a new car, I'm going to buy it there.
Yeah.
And it's because they're taking care of people. And so, you know, we're talking about, like, what's your fixed ops potential? How do you, you know, get a grip on what that is and maximize it? And the truth be told, is 99% of it's mental. Number one is that door rate versus what you're charging. It's a breakdown in your system and put you there. And then number two is just your lack of, let's say, ambition to sell, right, is also what's going to hurt you, because you can't generate enough funds to be able to provide the right level of service to your clients. You'll never hit your potential. So it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You'll put a modest goal out because you can't see a way of getting there, because in order to do that, you've got to sell more, raise your prices, right? Get your numbers up higher. And to do that, it goes against almost like your belief system. You know what I mean? And so you're just never going to get there. So there's all these things that are like they're like gears just with like sand in them. They're like, you know, just grinding to a halt.
Do you think people believe that? Do you think that people believe more money, more problems? I think it's lack of education. My personal opinion, my professional opinion, because I'm thinking right now, gee, man, I'm literally, you know, maybe we have this wrong. Like, I don't know what to. I don't know. There's a part of me that would say, attention, general managers and owners, right? We're in Dallas, Texas. If you're close to Dallas, Texas, we're gonna do a free fixed ops training session for GMs and owners, just to come see what ELR is, what it entails, understanding your true potential. What is your potential? You just don't know. Yeah. You just don't know. I want to invite any owner, any general manager listening to this, or if you know one, guys, in your 20 groups, right? I know we have listeners that have 20 groups. If you see anybody on the right side of the page, do a nice deed and say, hey, bro, you might be struggling a little bit. I know these guys, JDI Coaching, they've done some pretty extraordinary things. This is what they say. Here's their website. Just look them up, jdicoaching.com. I don't know. Just a lead. Go look for it. See if they could do. We'll do a free session. We'll because empowering you with the knowledge is what we do. Yeah. Right? Now, of course, for like any other business, we're in business for money. But man, I'll give you an hour. I'll give you an hour of your time so you have a better understanding. And if we see that your potential is massive, then I don't know, that's your decision. But either way, knowledge is power, and you knowing that information has got to be critically important to you, right? Because you don't measure yourself up. And the best thing that NCM did, I mean, hands down, I thought it was genius, and I know that NADA is now doing it too, is these damn 20 groups. Just compare yourself to each other.
Yeah. Well, it's the best and the worst thing because
100%.
It's good to have a level of comparison, to move yourself up, but to judge yourself solely on the basis of comparison is a dangerous spot to be because it will limit your potential in a lot of cases because
don't even get me started. Don't ever get me started.
We are human beings.
Don't even get me started.
Listen, we walk down the street and we look at somebody and we go, I'm thinner than that guy, right? It's like we are constantly comparing ourselves against other people to make ourselves feel better. And you could say that I don't do that, but the truth is everybody does it. And if you don't do it consciously, subconsciously, you are anyways. It doesn't matter. It is how we make decisions, how we do things.
I would throw this out there right now, and I would put money on it if I have to, which I don't have. But I would put money on it that I've collectively looked at hundreds of 20 group composite pages, right? And one thing that I think is mind-blowing, and NCM, if you're listening to this, it might be a good idea for you to do, because I know how you determine ranking based on the highlighted portion of whatever the heck. Is it, gross profit year-over-year increase, blah, 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 blah. You should do it on percentage of effective labor rate to door rate. Time and time again, every time I look at that one metric, regardless of what you're ranking them on, anytime I see a profitable department, the gap between the door rate and the effective labor rate is very small. There is a direct correlation between that and your net, right? The problem is you don't believe it. The problem is you don't believe it. And the worst part of it is the math is the math is the math is the math is the math.
Listen, there's a model where, you do, 2,000 cheap oil changes every month, and that you use that to drive business, and you've got 20 service advisors and 50 techs, and, you're running a high volume model, and but you're converting at a high rate. You're insanely profitable, 40% net to gross, and right? All those things are possible. You can do that business, and that gap between the door rate and the ELR might be far. But the problem is that most dealerships are not that person. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Most places we look at, and the gap's far, and the results on the financial statement are indicative of what that gap is. Versus, oh no, if there's a gap there and they're crazy profitable, then close the book and call it a day, right? But it's never that way. It's always that when that gap's there, it directly correlates to the financial statement and them either losing money or not making near enough as they should. And that, again, you're just not achieving your potential, and you're using comparison. You're comparing yourself to the unicorn, the 3 or 4 or 5 stores in this entire country that are doing that high volume market model successfully. It's like wholesale parts. You got a guy in your market that's doing, a few $1 million in wholesale sales in a brand, and you're like, well, I want to match that guy. Well, to get to his level, you got to go all in. And he's getting massive bonus dollars back from the manufacturer. You don't have that amount of profit to play with. So how do you shore up that profitability while you're building towards that? I'm not saying you can't go and compete with him. You can, but you better truly understand what it's going to take to get there. It's going to take a long road and a lot of money, and you got to be ready. You got to be prepared to invest in that. Right? It's like a startup. You're building, and there's going to be a burn rate for a while until you get there. You're not going to have the luxury of what he's got. So when you're chasing that business, you look out at it and you say you want that or you want to increase that, sit down and educate yourself and say, okay, what am I comparing myself against? And what assets does he have right now that he has his ability to take advantage of because now he's there that I don't right now as I'm growing to get there. It doesn't mean you don't try. Again, doesn't mean you don't go out there and go get it. You just have to understand. You just have to understand what that's all about. So I think comparison can be dangerous. It can be scary. And there's a lot of people talk about the composite that's on the right side of the page. And if you're on the left side of the page, you're like, at least I'm not one of those guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then now that comparison makes you feel good.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
And so now you're not, so think about it.
So what is your potential? I mean, the truth is we've talked about potential. What are the three things that you can really decide? Number one is identify what your effective labor rate is compared to your door rate. That's a huge potential, right? Second thing is,
I think before I did that, I'd do a market survey. Oh, I love that. I'd survey all the dealers in my area and probably some in some of the major metros around, just to get a feel for what that is, and 100, 200 mile radius. And again, you're not trying to be the cheapest. You just want to understand what the average of that is, right? Because your door rate could be too low too.
100%. I mean, so doing a market analysis would be the bird thing, right? Second, check your effective labor rate compared to that, and then identify. I always say UIOs. How many units in operation are there, and what's your market share of that? Because everybody's trying to improve their market share. And I understand the benefit of that market share, but at the same time, at what cost? We were reading this book, G-Man, you and I, and it was called The One-Page Marketing, what is the thing? And the guy says, you need to take into consideration how much you're investing in trying to get that additional, because you could have lost, right? So let's say you're like, hey, we're going to be home of the $9.95 oil changes. So every single oil change, we're going to lose $50. Right? How big are you converting out of that $50 loss? Because would you have been more profitable just staying at $59.95 instead of having a massive reduction to get that car in there that didn't convert in order for you to just take the loss? So now we consider going, oh, well, we'll just put that into advertising expense. It's still expense. It's still taking away from your bottom line going, that's a bad investment. Yeah. What is my return on investment is money made after I've made these expenses. You know what I'm saying? Like, what did I make out of this program?
Yeah. What was my
return on investment?
I spent X and I made Y.
Exactly.
And part of that spend is the reduction
in
profit.
I see it right now with tire sales. Yeah. Is that, guys, great job. You sold 500 tires this month. But we were down $150,000 in gross. We still sold the tire. That's great. Well, we're investing in our future because those people are going to come back. True. They might. They might not. I don't know.
But that's the thing. Okay, so you sold 500 tires, and we feel good because we helped all those customers, and that's going to be return business. And like you said, maybe. We don't know. But the other side of that, too, is we didn't sell anything on those cars other than the tires. Wasn't there nothing? I mean, every one of those should have got alignment. Every one of those should have got the brakes checked. Yep. Every one of those should have got a full multi-point inspection. And there should have been some sort of pitch of some sort. And of the 500 cars, I guarantee probably at least 60% of them needed some sort of maintenance other than that. And so what about a brake fluid service or a coolant service or a transmission? There's so many things to do. And that's your opportunity there is are you converting and are you selling, and does it make value, right? But again, it gets to that thing where it's like this feel-good kind of thing versus like really going after and chasing down your potential, right? And getting into this place where, it's a little scary. And people, you said this earlier in what we're talking about is you said people don't want to go in and say, I'm not good at this. Yeah. Right? But the truth is that's where the value is. Mm-hmm. Even if I'm good at it, I don't want to be good at it because I want to learn. I want to get better at it.
Right.
So it's like, that's the thing. It's like, what do they say? Good is the enemy of great. Because we stop. And that's why I say comparison's a tough way to determine your potential, because you're comparing yourself against what? And again, go back to San Francisco. They $1 million, way above it, and hitting that target would have been a huge record and a big deal for them, but still wasn't what their potential was. The store would still have been underperforming by $500,000. And so understanding where that target is and then putting that target out there and going after it like your life depends on it, and not being afraid to set a goal that's going to take a while to hit. I think that's a big thing. People don't like to put things out there and not hit them.
Yeah, but you have to. But if you don't know you're trying to go to the moon, I mean, you have to always go to the moon. Like I don't understand that philosophy. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make us feel good.
Again, not everybody wants to be first, right? Nobody wants to be last, but not everybody wants to be first. And so that's the thing. They putting the moonshot out there. It's
I'm not trying
makes
to
you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to tell you to be first. I'm not trying to tell you to be first. I'm trying to tell you to be the best that you can be. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, think about it. Think about it. Who do you want to do? What hospital would you want to go to? Do you want to go to the hospital that says we're happy where we are and these guys are the mediocre people that we have, or we're the top-rated hospital in the country?
We only had
people go to the Mayo Clinic for a freaking reason.
We only had one person die last week, so you should find.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah, you want to go to a place where nobody died.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Guys, come to us. We have the cheapest doctors.
Yeah.
Come here.
No.
What? Like, and if you're a technician, bro, like you were a technician for several years, right? If you were trying to decide which store to go to, right, and you had store number A, right, that, great, they took care of you, it's good. You know, the reputation wasn't the greatest, but they were cheap prices, so, you know, you'd work on a lot of cars, right? Or store B, where brand new tools, great facility, great benefits, higher paying wages, a little more expensive for the customer, but they're, you know, in a place. Now, mind you, there's somebody listening right now going, yeah, you're describing Phoenix compared to Scottsdale. It's just depending on your market. Bull effing crap. Bull crap. Because I know that there are stores all over the country, right? I bet you there are people that, because Dallas is a huge area, right? But people drive from Austin to go to a Sewell store here. Austin. Like, oh yeah, no, I get service here. I'm in town because I'm getting my car serviced. What?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, they got a huge following, man. They built a good reputation.
That's what it's about. Yeah. And I think that's what we're trying to do here with JDI is we're trying to build a good reputation of taking care of communities and taking care of people and trying to take care of the leadership. And I think education is the key to success. I mean, we spend less on it in this industry than probably anywhere else. And it's a $4.1 trillion industry. Education. $4.1 trillion is education.
Can't get them off the
line. More
line.
than the GDP of countries, man. $4.1 trillion?
Yeah, you can't get people off the line to do it.
Isn't that crazy?
Too busy chopping wood to sharpen the axe, man. Too busy chopping wood to sharpen the axe.
I'll tell you what. That's why China's coming.
All right, so let's see if I can bring this around and hit some of the high points. You know, so one of the things we talk about, like, you got to determine your potential. You should always be striving for that. So number one, do a market survey. I recommend you do that. And often things change. Hell, if we've been in your market, do a market survey because a dealer just went up. And again, you're not trying to be the lowest. Don't use this as a way of convincing yourself that, hey, I'm okay because he's way lower than me. That's not what you're looking for. You're trying to get a good average and try to really look for the opportunity there. You only need one or two people that are higher than you to help you push that up. The second thing we were talking about is to
your effective labor rate compared to your door rate, right? Identifying what the disparities of that are, and then fine-tuning it to understanding, okay, well, what do I offer and how is that affecting me the most, right? I would go look at the top three things. Yeah, oil changes could be one of them, but how am I converting off of that? What's my system set up to bridge the gap, right? That's how I see it too, as where is my potential in regards to that, you know?
Yep. UIOs in your marketplace.
UIOs, market share. Yeah, you want to look. You can do what you want, but if you have a massive amount of market share, because we get so scared, right? We get so scared. If I told you, and I know we've done this before, if I told you you'd lose 10% of your customer base to grow 90% in gross profit in your business, would you take it? Would you take it? right? I mean, I'm telling you, it's losing weight. I got more females looking at me now at 30 pounds lighter than I had in the past, right? Which, by the girl broke my heart in Columbus, Ohio. The warranty administrator. She wasn't. She was like, "Dude, this you put why?" She goes, "Why did you mention me? Why did you mention me? Now I got people like it feels weird." I'm like, "Nobody's gonna know who you are."
Oh man.
Anyway, it's not about me.
Complicated her life.
It's not about me. It's not about me.
The other thing we were talking about too is psychology, right? So a lot of these factors, if you're not putting yourself in the right position, is going to affect your psychology, your team psychology, how you look at yourself. Am I worth it? Are my people worth it? Is what we do worth the price? Are people willing to pay? They're not willing to pay for that for me. Okay, then that's a big deal. So as we always say, right, the results of your business are the sum total of your people's belief system, right? And you will never get past that. You cannot outrun what people believe. You have to change their beliefs. As a leader, you have to believe first and you have to raise your lid, your ceiling. Yeah. Then you have to go to work to raise everybody else's ceiling. So even though you can see it now, they still can't. Yeah. And you have to pull them along until they start to believe. And so, I'm telling you, psychology is the number one thing.
Oh, the number one thing.
San Francisco could have fixed themselves overnight, but in the flick of a switch. Yeah. It's not that difficult. They just didn't believe in themselves and what they were doing. And the minute they did, it changed automatically.
Yeah, it was. So we had a perfect example. I had a kid that was a service advisor new to the Highline industry and whatnot, and he was struggling a little bit, right? And all of a sudden, we got in there. Forget about the training. He had the training. The psychology part of it, right? And so I said to him, what changed? You know what he said, bro? I started trusting myself. Yeah.
That's it. Believed in myself. Yeah.
That's it. I just said, I'm worthy of this. Like, why? And I literally nothing changed. I just presented what I needed to present. I put on the good information, and I trusted that it was worth it. And once you believe in yourself, people buy.
Dude, automotive service departments, we do an important job. We do a thing that people can't do for themselves. And automotive service advisors, I know we don't hold ourselves in very high regard in the marketplace, but we provide a service to the marketplace. We provide a service that they can't get anywhere else, right? And we are the conduits to them getting their car fixed. And that level of transportation, their automobile, is everything to them. Yeah. It's how I get my kid to school. It's how I get to work. It's my livelihood. It's how I get to work.
That's why I said education is the key. And the funny thing is I know general managers and owners out there, and I know your two most profitable entities in your business, probably F&I, right? And the parts department are continuously, whatever. But don't forget who sold those parts. And it's not your warranty. It's not your wholesale team. The people who sold those parts are the people that are out there on the service drive convincing customers of their needs. And if you want to sell more parts and you want to sell more service, you got to educate those people. You just got to educate them. Invest in it.
Yeah. Do the math on your carrying costs if you're doing wholesale and see how good you feel about it. But okay. And so we got the psychology bit of it. Make sure that you get that done. And then I'd say probably last, but certainly not least, is probably two things. One, set a big goal. So set a big goal. Don't be afraid of that. You want to set yourself a really big goal. Stretch yourself out there. Again, San Francisco, they thought it was $1 million. We thought it was 1.5. Let's just say they set $1 million and hit 980 or 990. They'd have been pretty happy with that, rather than set 1.5 and hit 1.2. 1.2 would have been a hell of a lot better than $1 million. So set a stretch goal, get yourself out there, figure out what that true potential is, and then get yourself out there. And I'd say, above all else, get yourself a third perspective. Get somebody to help you. Ask another service manager, somebody in your peer group. It's hard because you go to these 20 groups, and you don't necessarily get that level of in-depth conversation where you're kind of getting vulnerable and talking about how I want to grow and I want to get bigger. It's more about I'm okay and look at the good things I'm doing. So you really need to find somebody you can get vulnerable with and give somebody to give you some real advice where they can try to help you to define what your true potential is. And as always, we're here to help you with that. If that's where you're at and you need somebody to help you with that, we would be happy to do a strategy session with you and take a look at your dealership, your fixed operations, and pencil it out. And we can give you what our opinion is your potential. If you're in Texas, we'd be happy to come out because we're now here and we can drive out And so we'd love to come out and check that out. So if that's something you're in need of, please reach out to us, info@jdicoaching.com.
Just go to jdicoaching.com.
Go to jdicoaching.com to our website.
Yeah, just go to
Phone numbers
JDI
on
Coaching.
there. You can DM us on Facebook. A lot of ways to get in touch with us. So check us out there. Check out our web series. We're doing the Back to Basics series every Thursday, noon. Still got that going. This week we're talking about CSI, how to increase your CSI. We got training coming up next week. We got a couple of seats left. If you want to get involved in the training in Walnut Creek, California, you're a Bay Area dealer, let us know. A couple of seats left for that training. 12th and 13th, we're going to be out there. We're going to be in Dallas, Texas, 19th and 20th. We're talking about adding on 2 more dates to that. 26 and 27, I think, are the dates we're talking about adding. So it's possible we're going to add a couple more dates. Check our website for that as well. And again, follow the show, share the show. There's lots of free content in jdicoaching.com, so make sure you go there to check it all out, because it's coming out quite fast and furious right now, and a lot of free resources, a lot of things that can help you. Like always, we just want to give back to the marketplace. It's been so good to us. So we'll see you next episode of Hard Shop Life.